The space station Draymar Ring was always crowded. Hundreds of alien species walked its glowing halls, some with feathers, others with scales, some rolling, some floating. It was a place where all kinds of creatures came to trade, repair ships, or hide from the law. But when Velrana entered the docking bay, silence followed her like a shadow. She was massive, over 8 feet tall, with thick armor-like skin and deep crimson eyes. Her body was built for war. Every footstep shook the floor. She was a female, of the Kragle race, bred for battle and feared even among her own kind. No one dared speak to her. Even the strongest alien males stepped aside when she passed. They looked away, pretending not to notice her. Some whispered behind her back, calling her a broken weapon or too dangerous to tame. But she didn't care. Or at least, she pretended not to. Velrana was used to being alone. She walked through the hangar, her heavy boots echoing. She had just returned from a patrol mission and was covered in dust and dried plasma. As usual, she gave her report in silence, avoided conversation, and returned to her quarters. But today, something was different. As she turned toward her docking bay, she felt someone watching her, not with fear, not with hate, but curiosity. She turned and saw a human. He wasn't large like her. In fact, he looked soft, maybe a technician. He wore simple clothes, a utility belt full of tools, and a grease-stained shirt. His hair was messy. His boots were untied. And he was smiling at her. Velrana narrowed her eyes. Was it a joke? Was he mocking her? She looked around to see if someone was filming this. But no one else even noticed. He raised a hand in greeting. Hey there. She froze. Her training told her to stay alert. A friendly gesture was often a trick before an attack. But there was something strange in his eyes, not fear. Not disrespect, just calm. She turned away and kept walking. Later that day, her quarters felt smaller than usual. The steel walls pressed in around her. She sat on her bunk, arms crossed. But her mind wasn't quiet. The image of that human smile kept flashing in her head. Why would he do that? Why would he look at her like that? She told herself it didn't matter. But the next morning, as she opened her door to leave, she found him standing outside with a toolbox. Name's Jack Keller, he said. Engineering team. I saw your report. Your energy panel's out of balance. Can cause minor power surges, maybe even short your defense system. Thought I'd fix it. She stared at him, silent. No charge, he added. Call it curiosity. She narrowed her eyes. You are not afraid of me? He chuckled. Should I be? No one had ever asked her that, not like that. Most ran. Some trembled. A few barked orders, pretending not to fear her. But Jack, he stood there casually, as if this was just another repair job. She stepped aside, and Jack entered. Her quarters were neat but empty. No decorations. Just a bunk, a locker, a training bench, and her weapons on the wall. Jack whistled. You live like a soldier. I am a soldier. He opened the panel on her wall and began working. Sparks flew as he adjusted the circuits. I used to serve 2 Earth's orbital fleet. Got bored of rules. Decided to fix broken ships instead of breaking them. She watched him closely. He moved with confidence, not fast, not nervous. He wasn't weak, even if he was small compared to her. His hands worked fast, his fingers precise. But it was the way he talked that shocked her. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't performing. He was being normal. After 30 minutes, he stood up. All fixed. You shouldn't get any more energy spikes. Let me know if you do. She tilted her head. Why help me? He smiled again. You looked lonely. The words hit her like a blade. Before she could answer, he was already walking out. See you around, Velrana, he called without turning. She stood there, frozen. No one called her by name unless reading her record. No one said goodbye. No one smiled at her, but Jack Keller did. Suspense ending, hook, later that night. As Velrana cleaned her armor, a soft beep echoed from her door. She tensed, grabbed her blade, and opened it, expecting danger. But it was Jack again this time. He held 2 cups. You ever tried hot chocolate? Velrana stared at the human standing outside her door again. Jack Keller stood there casually, holding 2 steaming cups. His toolbox was nowhere in sight this time. Just a simple, harmless drink, hot chocolate, he said, shaking one of the cups slightly. Not toxic, mostly sugar. She crossed her arms. Why are you here? To share a drink, he said. I figured if I show up again, you might start thinking I'm brave or stupid. She didn't move. Her red eyes scanned him from head to toe. He was unarmed. No hidden weapons. No backup. No fear in his voice. No one visits me, she said finally. Jack shrugged. Then they're missing out. A long silence passed. Velrana stepped aside. Enter. He did like it was nothing. Like she wasn't a towering warrior known for crushing skulls in the war zone. He handed her the drink. She sniffed it. Sweet, warm, confusing. What is this made of? She asked. Cocoa beans from Earth, Jack replied, sitting on a bench. When processed, they make something addictive. In a good way. Velrana sat across from him, the cup looking tiny in her large hand. She sipped. Her eyes widened. Jack grinned. Told you. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was strange. But calm. He looked around her room. You know, for a war hero, your place is pretty empty. No trophies, no banners. I do not collect meaningless objects, she said coldly. Maybe, or maybe no one ever gave you one worth keeping, he replied, sipping his drink. That made her pause. He wasn't just talking about objects. She shifted. You speak freely, Jack leaned back. Most people don't speak to you at all, right? So I figured honesty might be refreshing. You should be careful. Honesty gets people hurt. He smiled. You gonna hurt me, Velrana? She stared at him, holding his gaze. Then, very slowly, she shook her head. Not today. Jack grinned wider. Good. Then I can ask my real question. Her eyes narrowed. What question? He stood up and walked to the wall where her heavy armor was hanging. He pointed at the cracks and burn marks on the shoulder plate. That's not from battle. That's sabotage. Velrana stood suddenly. Her voice dropped. What do you know? Jack didn't flinch. I reviewed the station's maintenance logs. Your suit was tampered with. Someone bypassed the cooling systems. If you had stayed 5 minutes longer in that last mission, your entire suit would have gone into meltdown. Impossible, she growled. Only command has access. Exactly. Jack said softly. Someone on this station wants you gone. Velrana's jaw tightened. Her hands clenched. Why tell me? Because I've seen what fear does. They're afraid of you. You're too strong, too smart, and too independent. And now that a human is talking to you, they're afraid you might stop listening to them. She looked at him, confused. You risk yourself for a theory? Jack took a deep breath. I don't think it's just a theory. I think they already made the first move. He pulled a small device from his jacket and handed it to her. Check the logs. You'll see who accessed your suit systems. I traced it back, but I think you should see it with your own eyes. Velrana stared at the device, then at Jack. You are not a simple engineer. No, Jack said. I was in intelligence. Before I quit. She stepped back, looking down at the device in her palm. For the first time in years, something stirred in her chest, not anger, not loneliness, something dangerous. Trust. And that scared her more than any battle. You should leave, she said quietly. Before they see you with me again. He nodded but didn't move. Then, just as he reached the door, he looked back. I'll be around. Just say the word. Velrana didn't reply. She stared at the little device in her hand like it was a weapon. Maybe it was suspense, ending. Hook. As the door shut behind Jack, Velrana activated the device. A name appeared. On the screen. It wasn't a stranger. It was someone from her own command squad, and they had just requested authorization to remove a threat. Permanently. Velrana sat alone in the corner of the weapons calibration room, the screen still glowing in her hand. The name on the access log, Commander Xerix, burned into her mind. A Kragle male. Her superior officer. One of the few who had trained with her, fought beside her, and now betrayed her. She clenched her jaw. Her massive fists rested on her knees, trembling not from fear, but from something worse. Rage. Outside the room, the station hummed with life. Aliens of every shape moved past, unaware that something dangerous had begun ticking under their feet. Inside Velrana, something had broken open, and it wasn't going back. She connected the device Jack had given her to the weapons console. Data streamed across the screen: logs, voice memos, encrypted reports. Jack hadn't just traced the tampering, he had recorded Xerix speaking with a council representative. Her influence must be limited. The human presence is making her unpredictable. She's a Kragle, the counselor said. She doesn't form bonds. Exactly why it must be stopped, Xerix hissed. Before she chooses a side that isn't ours. Velrana froze. Her own people didn't trust her, because a human smiled at her? Because she didn't crush him under her boot? Her chest tightened. Suddenly, the room lights flickered. A warning message blinked on her wrist console. Security override initiated. Quarters breach detected. She stood at once. Her room. Jack's visit. Without waiting, she stormed through the hallways, pushing past security drones and ignoring alarm calls. Her feet thundered against the steel floor. As she approached her quarters, she saw smoke leaking from the seams. Her heart skipped. She punched the emergency override and tore the door open. A burst of hot gas rushed out. Inside, her bunk was destroyed. Her training bench lay in pieces. Sparks popped from the walls. Someone had rigged her quarters to explode, and Jack had been there only hours ago. Jack, she growled, activating her comm. No response. She gritted her teeth and headed straight for engineering. When she arrived, the section was empty. Tools scattered. A chair knocked over. Then she noticed it on the wall behind a cabinet. Barely visible, a smear of red human blood. Nitrogen monoxide. Velrana snarled, slamming her fist into the console. Scanned the area with her visor. Faint footprints, human-sized, dragged. They had taken him. Her massive form trembled as she followed the trail through a side corridor. The path led her into the old, unused maintenance shafts, places off-limits to most civilians. She crouched, crawling through the narrow tunnels, eyes glowing in the dark. Halfway through, she heard voices. Stupid human. Should have stayed away from her. He's still conscious. What now? Orders say keep him alive, for now. Velrana's eyes narrowed. She moved faster. Ahead, she saw 2 station guards, non-Kragle species. Likely mercs standing over Jack. He was tied to a pipe. Bruised but breathing. Her blood boiled. They never saw her coming. In one smooth, terrifying motion, Velrana burst from the shadows like a storm. Her hand closed around one guard's throat, lifting him off the floor before he could scream. The other reached for a weapon, too late. Her fist crushed his arm, then sent him flying into the wall with a sickening crack. Jack looked up, coughing. Took you long enough. She knelt beside him. Are you harmed? Nothing I can't joke about later. She quickly cut the binds with a blade from her boot. Jack fell forward into her arms, and for a moment, the war machine held him gently. Why? He whispered. Why risk it? Her voice was cold steel. Because you're mine to protect now. She helped him to his feet. His legs wobbled. You've got a weird way of making friends. We are not friends, she said flatly. Right. Partners? She paused and didn't answer. Instead, she turned to the two mercs. One of them was barely breathing. She leaned over him. Who gave you the order? He choked, trying to crawl away. She grabbed his collar and whispered, Talk. The council. They want him gone, before you get any ideas. Velrana's grip tightened, then she let go. She stood, fire in her eyes. They made a mistake. Asterisk flames danced in the reflection of Velrana's eyes. She stood at the edge of the docking corridor as smoke billowed behind her. Fire suppression drones zipped overhead, spraying foam, but it wasn't enough. The sabotage had triggered a chain reaction. Half the engineering sector was burning. Somewhere inside that fire, Jack Keller was trapped again. Just 20 minutes ago, he had left her safe house to collect hidden data cores, proof that the council was behind her betrayal. He had kissed her palm before he left, a bold move for a man so small. Now he hadn't returned. Her wrist console blinked. Emergency distress ping. Jack's biosignal. Weak but still active. Velrana didn't wait. She stormed into the smoke-filled passage without armor, without backup, only rage and memory to carry her. Lights flickered. Sirens howled. The heat clawed at her skin. The station's fire sensors had already locked the area, and no drones would help her now. She moved fast. Her lungs aching. Jack had gone to storage deck 5. She turned left at the collapsed ceiling, then ducked under a melting pipe. The hallway was covered in soot and glowing embers. A gas pipe burst beside her. Hot vapor hissed past her ear, but she didn't stop. Through the smoke, she heard coughing. Jack! She shouted. No response. Then she saw him slumped against a bulkhead, one arm pinned under debris. His face was blackened with smoke. His chest moved shallowly. Velrana rushed forward, grabbed the steel beam, and lifted it like it weighed nothing. Jack gasped as air hit his face. You came, he whispered. Of course, she growled. You are mine to protect. His eyes fluttered open. I got the data, but they found me, locked me in. Save your strength, she said, lifting him into her arms. As she turned back toward the way she came, explosion. The entire corridor behind them collapsed. They were trapped. Velrana's eyes darted to the ceiling. Above them, a maintenance shaft. She scanned the wall and spotted an old panel. With one hand holding Jack, she leaped and slammed her fist into the panel, tearing it open. She pulled herself up, dragging Jack into the narrow vertical tunnel. The walls were hot. Metal groaned beneath her feet. But step by step, she climbed. Jack coughed weakly. You always climb walls to impress guys. Only ones who drink hot chocolate and smile at me, she said. He laughed, then winced. In pain. Finally, she reached a sealed hatch. She kicked it once, twice. On the third strike, it flew open. They tumbled out into a dark, silent hangar, one of the old restricted bays no longer in use. Velrana laid Jack down and checked his vitals. He was alive, but barely. She looked around. The hangar was massive, filled with decommissioned warships. Dust covered everything. But one ship stood untouched, tall, elegant, shaped like a dagger, ancient Krugel design. Her people had once ruled the stars in vessels like this. Velrana approached it slowly. To her surprise, the ship's lights came on. Her DNA, her presence, it recognized her. The ramp lowered with a hiss. She ran back to Jack, lifted him again, and carried him into the ship. The air inside was clean, cool, safe. She laid him in the medical bay. As the ship scanned him and began repairs, Velrana finally sat, her body trembling. She stared at him. This fragile human had stepped into her world, spoken to her like an equal, smiled when others feared her. And now he had nearly died because of it. He had risked everything, and she couldn't even say why it mattered so much. But she knew she had been a weapon for too long. Now, she wanted to be something more. For him, suddenly, the ship's system beeped. Incoming alert. She walked to the control panel and saw it. Council order confirmed. Velrana, high threat level. All units authorized to engage. No capture required. They weren't just hunting her now. They wanted her dead, and they didn't care if Jack died too. Outside the station, the stars looked calm. Inside the warship's bridge, Velrana stood like a statue. The lights of the ancient Kragle vessel glowed around her, reading her thoughts, syncing with her pulse. The ship had bonded with her bloodline only. A true warrior could wake it. And she had. But her mind wasn't on the ship. It was on the man in the medical bay below Jack Keller. He had given her more than a reason to fight. He had given her a choice, and now he was the reason they wanted her erased. The control panel blinked. An old comm signal crackled to life. She stepped forward. This is Council Command. Unit Velrana is to be marked rogue. Terminate with full force. Human asset is expendable. Her claws tightened around the steel rail. The voice belonged to Xerix, her former commander, cold, confident, betraying her. Without a second thought, they feared her strength, but they feared her even more, because she was no longer alone. Down in the medbay, Jack slowly opened. His eyes, the med drones had patched his wounds, but he was weak. His voice cracked. Did we make it? Velrana entered the room. Yes, she said, but they're still coming. Jack pushed himself up. We have to run. No, she replied, voice steady. We run, they chase, we fight. They bleed. Jack blinked. You're serious? She knelt beside him. They made a mistake. They thought I was a weapon with no soul. But you proved otherwise. He looked into her crimson eyes. And what now? Velrana stood. Now we become the problem they can't ignore. Within hours, every bounty hunter in the sector had heard the news. One human male. One rogue Kragle female. Extreme reward. High risk. Some laughed. Some loaded their weapons. Some sharpened their teeth. In a shadowy bar across the asteroid belt, a mercenary captain leaned back and said, a Kragle with a pet human? Easy credits. They had no idea what was coming. Back. Aboard the warship, Velrana moved with calm purpose. The ship's systems were still rebooting ancient tech, slow but powerful. She accessed the command logs, sealed every entrance, activated cloaking mode. Jack watched her work from the bridge. You've done this before. I was born to, she said. And what am I? He asked softly. Just a reason for all this. She turned, meeting his gaze. You're the first being who ever looked at me and saw me, not just my size, my race, or my threat level. You saw a person. He lowered his voice. I still do. Their moment was broken by a deep vibration. The ship's radar lit up. Multiple bogies, fast, light-class ships approaching. Velrana's face changed. Bounty hunters. 3, maybe 4. Jack leaned forward. They're gonna board? No, she said. They're going to try. She tapped the old console. Shields came online. Weapons hummed. The warship, forgotten for decades, roared awake like a sleeping beast. Outside, the bounty hunters fired grappling hooks. One ship launched a drill pod. Velrana smiled darkly. Let them knock. The first breach team broke through the outer hull, dropping into the cargo bay. They never left. Velrana moved like thunder, fast, brutal, unstoppable. Her body armor was minimal, but her rage was not. She slammed one hunter into the wall so hard the steel bent. The others tried to flee, but the ship locked the doors behind them. She wasn't alone. The ship fought with her. Gun ports opened from hidden walls. Electric pulses fried enemy circuits. Screams echoed through the hallways. On the bridge, Jack watched the monitors. He could barely believe it. This was a rescue ship turned into a weapon. One hunter broke through the upper deck. He aimed a plasma rifle at the door. Jack didn't wait. He grabbed a steel pipe and hit the lock button, timing it perfectly. The door slid open, and the hunter spun, surprised too late. Jack swung the pipe into his helmet. Sparks flew. The hunter collapsed. Velrana arrived seconds later. Blood on her knuckles, she looked at the unconscious man, then at Jack. He shrugged. "You said I wasn't a soldier. Guess I just became one." She smirked. "You fight like one of us." He smiled back. "You're starting to sound human." They stood together, catching their breath. Then the alert sounded again. Asterisk, the enemy ship was not built for chasing. It was built for crushing. Kragle, destroyer class, Talon of the Flame. It hovered outside the asteroid belt, blocking all known escape routes. 10 times larger than Velrana's old warship. Armored like a mountain. Armed like a god. Jack stared at the glowing silhouette on the screen. "How many are on that thing?" Velrana didn't blink. "Too many. Any chance we, talk it out?" She looked at him, her eyes dark. "They didn't. Come to talk. That's a replacement unit. It means they've already decided I'm dead. They're just here to make it official." "And me?" She paused. "Collateral," Jack sighed. "Lucky me." Outside the viewport, the Talon was powering up its primary cannon. Red energy pulsed through its long neck like a heartbeat. The message was clear. "You have 5 minutes to surrender, or you're dust." Velrana stepped forward, touching the control crystal. Her ancient ship responded like it understood the stakes. Its systems pulsed, shields rose, and hidden weapons unfolded like wings from its sides. "Can we win?" Jack asked. "No," she said calmly. "But we can make them regret it." The first wave came fast, drones. Hundreds of them. Black. Bug-like, moving as one swarm, released from the underbelly of the destroyer. Their job was to weaken defenses. Short systems, blind sensors. But Velrana was ready. She sat in the command throne now, connected to the ship directly through neural sync. She saw the drones as patterns, paths of movement, holes in their rhythm. She struck like lightning. Twin plasma cannons roared from the sides of her ship, cutting through the swarm like fire through dry leaves. Turrets tracked each movement, firing in tight bursts. Jack manned the auxiliary control, launching decoy drones and magnetic pulses. The swarm didn't stand a chance. Within 3 minutes, only scattered metal floated in space. Jack wiped sweat from his brow. "That was round one, wasn't it?" Velrana nodded. "Now comes the real war." The destroyer moved. Its shadow stretched across the asteroid belt, swallowing light. Panels on its sides opened, revealing 10 Kragle assault pods. Each one held 6 elite warriors. Not just any Krago. Her old unit. Velrana's pulse spiked, but not from fear. From fury. "They're using my own soldiers against me," she said. "They trained with me, ate beside me, now they hunt me." Jack stepped forward. "Then let's remind them who you are." She stared at him. Then smiled, just slightly. "You've changed me," she said. "Now let's see if I can change them." The assault pods hit the hull. Clangs echoed through the corridors. Inside, Velrana moved with silent purpose. Her steps were calm, each motion smooth. Jack followed behind, holding a modified blaster. He wasn't a warrior, but he wasn't helpless anymore either. The first squad broke through the cargo deck. Velrana was waiting. She stepped from the shadows, armor shining like obsidian. "Stand down," she said. The Krago leader snarled. "You have shamed us, Velrana. You fight for a human?" "I fight for truth. You were one of us." "I was," she said, and launched herself forward. The fight was fast, brutal, and poetic. Velrana didn't kill them. She disarmed, disabled, crushed armor without crushing flesh. Her strikes were full of warning, not hate. "Go back," she whispered to one. "Tell the council I am no one's weapon." Jack covered her from behind, shooting out light panels, creating smoke cover. In the chaos, they retreated to the bridge. 3 more pods landed. More coming. Jack shouted, Velrana locked down the main corridor and turned to her ships. "Core, there's one option left," she said. "What is it?" "This ship is old, but it has a heart." She placed her palm on the glowing engine. A deep hum spread through the walls. Jack stepped back as energy surged around them. "What are you doing?" "Something they never taught us in the War Academy," she said. She was activating the ship's ancestral protocol, last resort mode only ancient Kragle vessels possessed. The ship pulsed once, then began to grow darker, more silent. All weapons shut down. Jack panicked. "Velrana? We're shutting down." "No," she said softly. "We're going invisible." Outside, the Talon of the Flame locked weapons on the smaller ship, only to lose its signal. It was gone. Disappeared. Nothing in space. No wreckage. No trail. No escape pod. Impossible. One Kragle officer barked. "They didn't jump. They didn't fire. Where did they go?" The commander stared at the empty belt. He had a strange feeling in his chest. "They're still here," he whispered. "Watching." Space drifted silently around the cloaked Kragle warship, now hidden within the asteroid belt. No scans could find it. No sensors could track it. But inside, something powerful was waking, not just in the ancient vessel, but inside Velrana herself. She stood at the command console, her massive frame tense with focus. Beside her, Jack Keller rested a hand on the edge of the console, watching her, trusting her. "You're sure about this?" he asked softly. "Yes," she replied. "They tried to erase me. They will now see what they created." He nodded. "I'm with you." Her fingers moved across the glowing panel. "Then let's break their pride." Above them, the Talon of the Flame moved carefully, its scans still searching. The Council's destroyer wasn't built for patience, it was built for destruction. But no one expected what came next. From the asteroid field, a small decoy signal pinged. The Talon locked onto it instantly and fired at secondary. Cannon. Boom. An explosion lit the sky. Too big, too easy. The destroyer captain laughed. "She's gone, foolish traitor." But laughter died quickly, because suddenly their own systems began to fail. The Talon's engines flickered. Its targeting array froze. Its internal defenses turned off. Doors unlocked. The lights dimmed. System breach. "We're being hacked," the officer screamed. "From where?" The captain yelled. Then, in the heart of the Talon's control room, every screen lit up with a red Kragle symbol, one long forgotten, a symbol of an ancient bloodline, of a warrior caste thought extinct. And then her face appeared. Velrana, she said only 2 words, "I remember." Jack guided their ship in close under cloak, using backdoor codes pulled from the stolen data cores. Velrana had once trained aboard the Talon of the Flame. Now she used her past to tear it apart. They landed silently on their deck. Velrana turned to Jack, pressing a blade into his hands. "Don't hesitate. Aim for joints." Jack nodded, tucking the weapon against his side. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. She looked at him. "Because I'm done being silent. And I want them to know it was a human who helped me find my voice." Inside the destroyer, chaos had already begun. Defense teams scrambled, systems looped, orders repeated. Nothing worked. Velrana and Jack moved fast, slipping through side corridors. Guards tried to block them. Velrana broke through them like wind through leaves, swift, fierce, unyielding. She didn't kill them, but they would never forget her. They reached the central command bridge in minutes. Doors sealed behind them. Jarek stood at the head of the bridge, tall, proud, armored in gold. His face twisted when he saw her. "You dare return?" he snarled. "With that?" He pointed at Jack like he was filth. Velrana stepped forward. "Yes, with him. You betrayed your kind for a pet. I found honor in the only species that treated me like more than a weapon." Jarek drew his blade. "So this ends in blood," he said. Velrana didn't flinch. "No, It ends in truth. They clashed steel and sparks flew. Their duel shook the deck. Jerax was skilled, brutal, but Velrana was sharper, faster, and fueled by a fire deeper than war. He struck her shoulder, she ignored the pain. She countered, drove him back. Broke his stance. With one final move, she spun low and swept his legs. He crashed to the floor. She stood over him, breathing hard. "Do it," he spat. "Finish me." Velrana raised her blade, then dropped it. "No," she said. "You don't deserve a warrior's death." She turned and walked away. Jerax shouted after her, "Then you are weak." Jack stepped up beside her. He looked back at Jerax. "She's stronger than you'll ever understand." They returned to their ship, the destroyer behind them, systems locked down. Its command helpless. As they flew past the observation decks, hundreds of Krugel soldiers looked out, some with confusion, others with awe. No one fired. No one dared in. The silence of space. Jack sat beside Velrana on the bridge. "You changed everything," he said. She turned to him. "You changed me first." He smiled. That same crooked, warm, human smile. Velrana stared at it, just like she had the first day. "You smiled at me," she said, voice soft. Jack raised an eyebrow. "Regret it?" "No," she whispered. "It was the first time someone looked at me and didn't see a monster." He leaned closer. "Velrana, what do you see when you look at me?" She didn't answer. Instead, she leaned down gently, carefully, and touched her forehead to his. "I see someone worth living for." As the stars drifted past and the warships faded behind them, the galaxy whispered of a Kragel who broke her chains, and the human whose smile changed a giant's heart. Together, they didn't run. They rewrote destiny.